This is the Negro Ninja. And the Jezebel has been strong in these holes in the past few days, which is timely because I just got finished reading about Jezebel again the past few days. And I would usually just tell people to make sure they study the Garden of Eden because that's essentially everything that's going on between man and bitch, the power struggle between man and bitch. However, the story of Jezebel is also important to really see how it is in modern times. Okay, because you have to think about Jezebel, okay, and what type of person she is. She's just like the hoe in that song that says, "Give her a dude that's 5'6". She's a short guy advocate, and she like weak with no muscle tone. Something about a chaperone or something. I don't remember the rest of it, but you heard the song. Okay, that's a Jezebel. Okay, they got to have a man that they can have a grasp on mentally. Okay, because the dating game is all about, well, I don't want to say the dating game, but interaction between man and woman is one submitting to the other. That's basically what it is, whether it's good or bad. Okay, except she's supposed to submit to us because that's the way God has things set up and for good reason. Okay, now what did Jezebel do? Okay, and I'm going to read the Google narration of what she did. Okay, because they explained it very well. Hold on. All right. It says, according to the Bible, Kings 1 and 2, she provoked conflict that weakened Israel for decades by interfering with the exclusive worship of the Hebrew God Yahweh, disregarding the rights of the common man, and defying the great prophets Elijah and Elijah. All right. And, you know, the modern woman is the exact same way. Okay, down to a T. They just like Lilith, but they're really like her. And that's the easiest to spot right there. Okay, so let me break it down sentence by sentence. She weakened Israel for decades by interfering with the exclusive worship of Yahweh. Okay, to appeal to whores, you have to do things that go against your character and go against morality altogether in most cases. Maybe you're not the type of nigga that drink or smoke. But to relate to her, you better have something in your hand that has smoke or liquor in it. Okay, you have to know how to lie extremely well to tell her things she wants to hear. Okay. Okay. And I'm going to break that down as to why. Because bitches are what they want. And she essentially did that to get her husband, some land. Okay. She simped for her husband to get him another man's land. And it took him away from God because he would not have done that. Okay. If she didn't allow that to happen. Okay. So what did she do is like what they just said. She disregarded the rights of the fellow man. A dude had a vineyard that he did not want to sell to the king Ahab, who was the king of Israel at that time. And the man who didn't want to sell his name was Naboth. Okay, and he was like, I will never sell it. So he stood his ground to the king to not sell his vineyard. Now let's take a look at the symbolism of vineyard. Okay, as I do my research about a vineyard, I see many people say it's about truth, teachings, and charity. Okay, anything along those lines. Okay, so he basically stood in his morality, basically saying, I don't care if you're the king or not. This is stand up here. Okay, you can't take away my wisdom. Okay, you can't take away what I know is right. I will not sell it. The king wanted to take his land and make a vegetable garden instead. All right. So let me show you what I found real quick for the symbolism of that. Okay, and before I talk about the garden again, I found some more for vineyard. The metaphysical meaning. The fruit of the vine is a symbol of life. Jesus said, I am the vine. Okay. The vineyard represents manifest man or humanity, which was planted in perfection. In perfection is his destiny. So once again, he stayed true to himself, his teachings. The teachings of God, morality, and, just basically masculinity. Okay, and I had to make sure I put that part in there. So here's the vegetable garden symbolism. All right, based off of everything I see, it all seems to be feminine. Okay, and I'm gonna read y'all two of them real quick. Okay, it is an archetypal archetypal image of the soul, of innocence, of happiness. It is a place for growth of the inner self. It is a symbol of consciousness because of its order and enclosed characteristics, as opposed to the unconscious forest. Yet it also represents fertility and is usually considered feminine. Okay, but we know that it does not represent anything positive in this Jezebel story. Okay, because the man who wanted to buy it was not a positive man. He was not a godly man. Okay, and he had the bitch Jezebel as a wife who was a heathen. Okay, and I'm also going to talk about the literary symbolism because it's more worldly. Okay, and this explains his reasoning of why he wanted to plant more of those perfectly. So it says in literature, garden represents spaces of great potential, which can promote healing and learning, creating romantic bonds, and even send characters into magical realms. Okay, now just because somebody wants to learn more doesn't mean it's good. It's like the Bible say, they always learn it, but they never learn the truth. I forgot which passage that's in, but it's in there. All right, so the scripture that I was thinking of is 2 Timothy 3:7. Ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. That's the King James Version. Okay, and that's how hoes are. You would always hear them talk about stupid stuff like this secret or just any other new age book. That's just how people are in general, because bitches are the word and the world is a bitch. Okay. So now I'm going to explain how Jezebel basically did what I say it takes for men to appease bitch. Because bitches are they are their actions and what attracts them. So he's crying about not being able to buy the vineyard. Okay, he's very depressed, basically being a little bitch. All right, so he kind of vexes himself and he just defeated, just no. Jezebel is like, what's wrong? This nigga won't sell me the garden. Oh, he won't sell you the garden? Okay, we're going to get this garden. Okay, so she takes it into her own hands. It's out of his control now. Okay, you know how they say Jesus take the wheel? Well, niggas let bitches take the wheel, and this is what happens. This story is proof of why we have to be extremely careful of the women that we wife or just get involved with in general. Okay, because he did not do this. He wasn't even thinking about doing it. He wasn't thinking about nothing. She was the mastermind. He was ambitious. Okay, he wanted that vegetable garden to just further his own ambitions. Okay, and we know that when people are overly ambitious, that's when the devil takes over anyway. So let me just read out some of what she did to get him what he wanted. Okay, as I'm reading this passage, this is Kings 21, 1 Kings 21. So before I get to the Jezebel part, Ahab tells Naboth that I'll give you a better vineyard or pay whatever you want for yours. So he's basically doing a Jezebel right here, but it just don't appeal to this dude because he's strong in his conviction and his morals. No, it's been in my family for generations. Okay. All right, hold on. Let me find this. Okay, dude was like, I don't want no better truth. I like the truth. Okay, there is no other truth. I'm good. I don't need all that. Very content too. Okay, those that are about the truth don't have to be satisfied all the time. They're never just chasing stuff all the time. They can be content. That's what being at peace is, because that's what the truth does. Okay, which is why people have to give you conflict when you know the truth. So, okay, now let's listen to how this demon got this man killed. So she wrote letters in Ahab's name and sealed them with his seal. Okay, that's representing being demon possessed and just letting the devil take over him. Okay, because when the devil or just a demon possesses somebody, that's what they use. They use the person's, you know, it's his actions that he's using. Okay, so anyway, hold up. What the heck is wrong with this? So she wrote the letters and she proclaimed a fast and she set Naboth at the head of the people. All right. Now, if y'all remember this show called Squid Games, and this part to where they stop giving them food because it's going to make them more aggressive and more ruthless to do whatever it takes to win. That's the same concept here. Okay, she's wearing them out. They're not going to be able to use common sense as much because they're not really eating. And ironically, fasting, when you're doing it in a godly sense, is to get you closer to God so your mind thinks better. It usually resets the body. Okay, it's because it's letting your stomach digest and you can think a bit clearer. Okay, but she's doing everything in the opposite of what is intended here. So she's preying on everybody's weakness. All right. And she set two worthless men opposite of him and let them bring a charge against him, saying, "You have cursed God and the king. Take him out and stone him to death." And the men of the cities and the elders who lived in the cities did what she said. All right. And the two worthless men brought a charge against Naboth in the presence of the people, saying that he cursed God and the king. So they took him outside and stoned him to death with stones. Okay, that's some crazy stuff right there. Okay, and that's pretty much why chicks like to be surrounded by dudes that is not decent men. Because if any of these men was righteous, they'd just be like, that's not, this ain't right. This is not godly. Do you have any proof that he said something against God and the king? They just went with it, because they starving. They're not thinking. And she has two worthless men stirring everybody up. All right. Because when somebody's able to turn people against you, chances are those people were never with you to begin with. Okay, because they're worthless as well. Like some people won't even defend themselves. They'll just be like, whatever, whoever believe it, that's all I need to know anyway. The people that else with me ain't going to believe it. Okay, and Ahab essentially curses his descendants based off of Jezebel, all because he chose that bitch. Okay, we got to be very careful because even though Ahab repented, God was still going to do the damage. He just said, you know what? I'm not going to do it now, but I'm going to do it, in the next generation. Okay, so for anybody having a mindset thinking that they can just do something and just be forgiven, that should be a wake-up call right there. All right, because Ahab did a lot more than that. He just didn't walk in the way of God, and God flat out said, look, you didn't walk in my way, and you killed to take land. This is what's going to happen to you. Okay, he basically said, I'm going to make you like what happened to the last king that decided to go against me. And as for Jezebel, he pretty much said that the dogs were going to eat her. Let me see if I can say it exactly how he said it, because this is deep. So the dogs shall eat Jezebel within the walls of Jezreel. Anyone belonging to Ahab who dies in the city, the dogs shall eat. And anyone who dies in the open country, the birds of the heavens shall eat. I'm trying to find the part where it really describes her death. Because it says it here, but when you actually hear about it, they basically saying that they're not going to be able to tell it was her, and that she's basically going to be a pile of dung. But let me see if I can find it before I end this video. Okay, you can find the death of Jezebel in 2 Kings 9:30 through 37. And I'm just going to skip right to the last part that describes her demise, or how she ended up after her demise. So verse 37 says, "And the carcass of Jezebel shall be as dung upon the face of the field, in the portion of Jezreel, so that they shall not say this is Jezebel." Okay, and that's pretty much a personification of what she lived. Okay, and how she ended. And you have to think about what it took for her to become that pile of dung on the ground. Okay, dogs eating her up, horses stomping on her. Okay, how does that parallel to the modern bitch? She got dogs around her, eating her up. Okay, by feeding her lies. Okay, and just doing things in a similar manner to how you destroy a kid, by making them spoil and not disciplining them, and eating her up on some whole stuff. Okay, licking her, just, you know what I mean. You get it. All right. And it makes her a piece of, a piece of, you know what. Okay. And ironically, this kind of ties into my Lord of the Flies analogy for these hoes. Okay. And how the flies is around her, because, you got to watch that video. I went deep on it, but I think I was saying something like low frequency, and you get all these flies just making low frequency noises or something. But just check out my old catalog. You'll find it. Now, to get even deeper with the whole dog eating bitch up thing. Okay. They're always surrounded by dogs. Okay, just the lowest type of niggas you can think of on whatever level. They don't always be a thug. They can be clean, but still be on the same level. They can be well spoken and still be on the same level. They can have degrees or whatever, still be on the same level. They are not productive to bitch. Okay. And you have to think about what they was doing to Jezebel at that time. She was dead. And they surrounded her. So that pretty much should illustrate to you that for chicks to entertain dudes that you don't respect, dudes that you find inferior, that bitch is dead on the inside. Okay, and I can't remember if I said this point during this take here, but when I was reading like how Google summarized the chapter of Jezebel, it was saying how they said she weakened Israel and made them turn away from Yahweh. Okay, so if I didn't say it, I'm finna say it again. It's just like dealing with them. You always wondering, what the heck is this bitch doing? Like, why are they always doing this? What are you just thinking about stuff that you shouldn't really be thinking about because she making you think about it? She do too much stuff that don't make any sense, keeping your mind off of, the Most High. Okay, men's minds in general don't really think about God as much as they should. Most men don't. Okay, that's why it's good to at least try to read 2 chapters of the Bible a day, just to make sure you're on the right path. Okay, and once again, read. Don't just think, oh, I'm just listening to somebody that's speaking the truth. Oh, let me just rely on the pastor. That's what I used to do stuff like that. Oh, let's just listen to the pastor. You're going to realize that a lot of them be saying the most basic things incorrectly. Don't set yourself up for it. Okay, that gives us control over our own minds because we get to see the truth with our own eyes. And if we cannot interpret it, then that's when it makes sense to seek assistance and all this type of stuff. But a lot of the stuff is much easier to understand than you think. No matter how complicated the Bible may seem at times, it's never confusing as a whole. And that's all I got to say for this rant. And this has been the Negro Ninja bringing you your Negro message for today. Negro out.